Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. I'm going to do your April the 15th spiritual principle a day in a meditation. I hope you're having a beautiful morning. Okay, let's get into that screen. The meditation is entitled, let's see, Honesty Becomes Second Nature. In the beginning, we may have to consciously practice being honest. As we continue this practice, we find dishonesty progressively more uncomfortable, perhaps even agonizing. And gradually, we notice that honesty has become more normal for us. That comes from the Living Clean book, Chapter 1, Keys to Freedom. In active addiction, dishonesty was organic to how most of us functioned in the world. We did what we had to do to stay high. Stealing and being manipulative and deceitful were among our strategies to meet that goal. We were chameleons, more adept to figuring out who others wanted us to be than being ourselves. Our skewed perception was that the risk of being real outweighed its benefits. Lifelong habits die hard. In early recovery, we often find ourselves embellishing our using careers or whitewashing our wrongdoings. We are quick to justify our behavior, blame others, and minimize our feelings. Some of us continue to steal, cheat to get ahead, or promote a clean date that isn't quite accurate. But every time we come to a meeting, we hear that honesty is essential to recovery. We know that we're setting ourselves up for a relapse if we don't start telling the truth and acting with integrity. We hear that lesson in others' stories, excuse me. So we practice being honest in all of our affairs. We identify with other members and vice versa, which encourages us to be more open. Our sponsor helps us to see that being honest is actually the solution to our problems. We adjust our stories to match the truth. Gradually, as our behavior shifts, so does our comfort level with the truth. The perceived danger we felt at being truly ourselves is replaced by the gift of participating in reality and receiving support from our fellow members. Like any defect, the impulse to lie comes back. Though it's not as habitual, dishonesty may be the rusty old tool we reach for in a jam. Nowadays, when we pop off a lie, it's painful. Our denial and justification wound us. Knowing ourselves and our defects well all allows us, to put some time between impulse and action. Let me reread that for you. Knowing ourselves and our defects well allow us to put some time between impulse and action. We are able to investigate the urge, forgive ourselves, and humbly ask for help to avoid acting on it. When I feel that now familiar discomfort in the pit of my stomach from being dishonest, I will reflect on it. I'll change direction and take action because I know reality and the truth pose no real risk to me today. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Honesty becoming second nature is a process. I believe that it is our natural instinct to want to look good to not be scrutinized or have anyone find us out as, I wouldn't just say being liars, but finding out the truth about us. So sometimes I believe we have a tendency as people to lie by omission. Sometimes we tell small lies that aren't necessary at all. I believe it is a natural tendency to want to cover up the truth. Uh, and most oftentimes, I believe it's the intent is to make ourselves look better than we actually are or not hurt someone. Sometimes you'll lie just to avoid hurting someone's feelings. Um, but it's always problematic when the truth comes out. So, what we're learning in Narcotics Anonymous is that whatever the truth is, we don't have anything to fear necessarily about it. We have the opportunity to be truthful and to let others know what our truth is and let them decide whether or not they're going to accept that. But for us to alter the truth about ourselves to please someone, we no longer have to do that. And when we do find ourselves quickly running back to that tool of dishonesty, we find that it no longer sits with us the way that it used to. It bothers us. And you're constantly plagued with, why did I even say that? That was so unnecessary. Now I have to admit the truth or let them just find it out. But the truth is that I did not have to tell that lie. That discomfort is there for a reason. It's there to teach me that when you do this, it bothers you more than it's worth. Just tell the truth. And eventually, telling the truth, being honest, is second nature. I don't have to think about it. Now, sometimes when I will say, someone is asking me a question about myself, I may be somewhat taken aback by the question and wondering what is the motive in the question? What is behind them even asking me that? Why are you asking me that particular question? And depending on what my response is, what are you going to do with that information? People are generally speaking very nosy. I do believe that. People are nosy, and sometimes that you'll find them trying to phrase a question as though it's intellectual or philosophical. And in actuality, they're just being nosy. There's no reason for them to have that information from you. And so my response would be, why do you ask? If I'm not comfortable with the question, and I believe that my response is going to put me in a predicament where this information that I'm giving you can be used against me, I'm not interested in lying to you. I'm not interested in answering you at all. So my question is always when this comes up, and you can use this, hopefully it can help you. Why do you ask? And I go dead silent. I give them my eye contact and I go dead silent. Why do you ask? Because now I'm putting the shoe on the other foot. You're asking me a question that seems as though it's weighted. My answering that question is very possible. However, I'm not really sure what you want the information for. This is beyond this isn't the type of relationship where I would think that you could ask that type of question and I could trust necessarily that your motives. We're not best friends, right? We're not close like that at all. So when someone poses a question like that, and I am challenged with why are they asking, I just simply ask them, why do you ask? And I let them be uncomfortable because I'm not taking my attention off of you. I'm not deflecting anything. I'm trying to make sure your motives are right. Because if you can't convince me that your motives are pure, I don't have any reason to answer that question. And after I watch that uncomfortableness take place, I'll give them the answer that is appropriate according to the question and what I've just learned in that moment. Right? And so that hopefully that's a tool that you can use. I believe that when we ask questions, and I've learned this from someone very dear to me, when we ask questions, make sure you're asking the right question for the right reason. And usually, if the motive is right and the question is right, the answer will also be right. And when I say the answer will be right, it will be truthful. It will be what you need in order to proceed to the next step in that engagement. My name is MightyStream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that you will have a beautiful day on purpose. I intend to talk to you tomorrow.